Ibo's in the AT area. Eastern Cape in the area. Ibo's in the AT area. Oh, Alagasha. Ibo in the AT area. Eastern Cape in the area. Ibo in the AT area. Alagasha. Sherry Popo, Sherry Popo, Sherry Popo, Popo. You're a good soldier, choosing your battle. Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, go back on the saddle. You're on the front line, everyone's watching. You know it's serious, we're getting closer, this isn't over. The pressure's on, can you feel it? You've got it all, you believe it. When you forget up, and if you forget up, Samina mina sangalingwa, cause this is Africa. Samina mina, waka waka, Samina mina sangalingwa, anawa Samina mina, waka waka, Samina mina sangalingwa, cause this is Africa. Is I'm waiting, sy maak my hart swaar bly, maar ek wil graag weet, hoe gaan sy my nou bly? Want terwyl ons rustig stap, hand in hand in die straat, sê sy daar is iets waaroor sy wil praat. O, sy wil Kamskowili, Kamskowili, sy sê sy wil Kamskowili, want is so baie lekker. Kamskowili, Kamskowili, sy sê sy wil Kamskowili, want Kamskowili, Kamskowili, sy sê sy wil Kamskowili. O mga pati kakalisa, ay kapronila ka di. Kamskowili, Kamskowili, sy sê sy wil Kamskowili. Dis supaya lekker. Break it down, break it down. Say fat, 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 fat. Old school. When the night has come, and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't be afraid. No, I won't be afraid. Just alone as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Just alone as you stand by me. Oh, so darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Just alone as you stand by me. Can you feel it? Say fat, 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 fat.
Lord God, you we stand in your presence. We need more of you. With open hearts and your will that commands us, we'll do what you do. Do 1,000 fall at our right hand, and 10,000 at our side. There is nothing that could shake us, 'cause in you we will abide. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, and this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings, to you our praises we bring. Jesus. Desert wasteland, crying out to you, holding on 'cause we promised people. We know your word against you, though 1,000 fall at our right hand and 10,000 at our side, there is nothing that could shake us, 'cause in you we will abide. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, and this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings, to you our praises we bring. Jesus. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. For all of the great things that you will do through us, we will lift you up, Lord God, we will lift you up. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, and this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings, to you our praises we bring. Nothing's gonna stop us now. We are the people of God, this is His hour. Lifting up the King of Kings, to you our praises we bring. Jesus. Thoughts for me are greater than I could ever dream. So I lay my life in your hands. Your plans for me are filled with hope and peace. With no fear I stand, but you give and I will release. We serve a kingdom that can't be safer, and nothing can be taken away from the sons and daughters of God. We are the warrior generation, with the vision of Christ in our eyes. We love so great overcame my broken state. Your life is all I need. Christ that lives in me. No death, no height can never separate. We serve a kingdom that can't be shaken, and nothing can be taken away from the sons and daughters of God. We are a warrior generation, with the vision of Christ in our eyes. We are, you alone are God, the great and mighty King. You alone are God, the great and mighty King. You alone are God, the great and mighty King. You alone are God, great and mighty. You alone are God, the great and mighty King. You alone are God. We serve a kingdom that can't be shaken, and nothing can be taken away from sons and daughters of God. We are a warrior generation, with the vision of Christ in our eyes. We
DA governments know that access to the internet is crucial for expanding opportunities and helping people to find work. DA-run Saldanha Bay is working with the private sector to bring technology closer to the people by creating an open access fiber network that ensures connectivity to all residents. The Western Cape government is also hard at work bringing internet access to rural communities through the Cape Access Program. In DA-run Stellenbosch, you can now use a mobile app to engage with the municipality. The Stellenbosch Citizen app enables residents to participate in important discussions, get direct feedback, and stay up to date. The statistics show that there are indeed more opportunities where the DA governs. And despite the hard lockdown, the DA-run Western Cape's good track record helped keep the expanded unemployment rate at 27.3%, far lower than the national average of 42%. Since the launch of the Western Cape government's COVID-19 Business Relief Fund, the provincial government has assisted over 250 businesses to date, saving at least 2,000 jobs. Job seekers can also find work with the help of the City of Cape Town's Digital Jobs Database, which randomly selects registered residents for job interviews. Mossel Bay Municipality's Beehive project is helping small business owners grow their business in an affordable space. The international community continues to invest in the Cape and boost the local economy. Google invested a whopping 2.2 billion rand into Cape Town and the Western Cape. In the last 6 months, the Atlantis Special Economic Zone has received applications for investments worth 3.5 billion rand, which will support 800 jobs when approved. Investment like this not only helps grow the economy and create jobs, but is an endorsement of DA good governance.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
We tired of excuses. Ek sê my people need solutions. Kyk hier, ons nodig verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat hier. Kom jy help met die change, wie nie na die vote, my mense jump. Nou hello, hi, ek get die boodskap en ek sing het meneer. Moeg gekyk van hoe die negatieve dinge gebeur. Kom in my plek, ek sal jou wys hoe dinge binne beweeg. En julle first hand experience gee van hoe ons hier leef. Kinders wil kinders wees, maar hulle die je paakie nie. Nou staan hulle op die corner met jongens so boere gangstertjies. Ons kla nou al vir jare oor die saak van ons dreine wat lek. Excuse me, what is a necessity? So yeah, pass with that. So many promises were made, but nothing like it received. They said they gonna build houses, haast nog how they say. Wat staan van 1980 something I've give hope for my streets. Be the reflection of perfection. Don't stick out when it's just election, cause
we're tired of excuses. My people want solutions.
Nou kyk jy ons nodig verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat hier. Kom jy help met die change, wie nie dat die vote, my mense jump.
We're tired of excuses. People want solutions.
Nou kyk jy ons nodig verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat hier. Kom jy help met die change, wie nie dat die vote, my mense jump. Education's elevation to better the situation. And educators educate in a state of complication. The teachers on their knees in supplication. Wanna do their occupation with a breeze, master feel ventilation. But ek bedoel die klasse hier se vensters is uit. And we can barely pay jou school fees. Nou mens verblaai ook by. En kyk jy so, ek skool met weg, maar hy se geld toe iets hy. So voor julle billboards en bordjies wil zijn, so die pension is uit. Geef vir die sassa rechte reis en baby mamas better always. Sports and the arts need assistance in all ways. Bro, my people needs a difference in more ways than one. So as ons vote, moet nie net kompromis in nie man. Sien nie man.
We're tired of excuses. My people want solutions.
Nou kyk jy ons nodig verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat hier. Kom jy help met die change, wie nie na die vote, my mense jump.
We're tired of excuses. People want solutions.
Nou kyk jy ons nodig verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat hier. Kom jy help met die change, wie nie na die vote, my mense jump.
Change, change, change today. No change today. No, I won't look the other way. We wanna see a better day for you and me.
So let's empower the community, create some opportunities. As potholes in die straat gee dit vir die ouens wat op die stoep sit. And truthfully, we need to lead with love, peace and unity. We tired of attending eulogies. So many hassle praat die, doen het.
We're tired of excuses. My people want solutions.
Nou kyk jy ons moet die verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat, die kom help met die change. Wanneer na die bout, my mense jumpy.
We're tired of excuses. People want solutions.
Nou kyk jy ons moet die verandering. Nie mense wat kom praat, die kom help met die change. Wanneer na die bout, my mense jumpy.
I am a mother. I am a father. I'm a daughter. I am a son. I am a brother. I am a sister. I am a neighbor. I believe in freedom. Freedom to earn a living, go where I want, love who I want, say what I believe, and pursue my dreams. I am brave. I am a provider. I am whatever it takes. I believe in fairness. A fairness where our achievements are determined by our choices and hard work, not by the circumstances of our birth. I am a leader. I am hopeful. I'm going to beat this. I believe in opportunity. A nation where opportunity is plentiful, where the strong protect the weak, and everyone's rights are protected. I am a helping hand. I am challenging. I am different. I believe in diversity. Every person has a unique perspective and an important role to play in building our nation. We do not judge each other by how we look, but by who we are. We are community. We are South Africans working together for real hope, real change now. We are the Democratic Alliance.
Good evening, not good evening, good morning still to everyone here, and thank you for joining us to the first, hopefully of many, Entrepreneurship and Jobs Imbizo. It's really a great honor for me to be hosting this event, as we're going to be going through the event, I just want to encourage you that the status quo is that, for example, Angie was just working in now, is that if we could all try and stay on mute, especially if there's something else going on around you. You're welcome to keep your videos off. But I would like to encourage that whenever there's somebody that is speaking, if they can please put their videos on for the benefit of the guys on Facebook, we're already live on Facebook and hoping to get more people coming in there and interacting with us. So that is from my side. So we're going to get started, and when we get started, I'm going to invite the speaker that's going to introduce basically the theme of today, which why we're here and the views of why we are doing what we're doing. So I'm going to ask Mr. Senzi Sibeko. Senzi is the shadow MMC for economic development. Is the DA shadow MMC for economic development in Ekurhuleni. He is also the DA's regional chairperson in Ekurhuleni as well. So welcome, Senzi, and thank you for taking the time to be with us this morning. Senzi, over to you. Senzi, it's to you now. Okay. Just waiting for Senzi. Senzi? Okay. All right. We're gonna, okay, Senzi, are you there? Please unmute. See you muted. Senzi? Right. Before we get to Senzi, I'm gonna just quickly play. We're just gonna swap things around a little bit. I'm gonna play a video. We're just gonna watch a quick video, and then we will get Senzi online. Thank you. Sorry about that, everyone.
Hi, I'm Manette van der Westhuizen. I am a hypnobirthing childbirth educator. What made me so impressed with hypnobirthing and what still makes me so excited about what hypnobirthing offers to moms are that we teach you ways how you can have a quicker, easier, more comfortable birth, and many hypnobirthing moms even report having pain-free births. A better birth experience. Even if the birth takes a turn or complications arise, we teach you what to do so that you still know your options and what you can do to turn it into the best possible outcome. We teach techniques which include special breathing that works with your birthing body, self-hypnosis, visualization, and psychological techniques. Practical things you can do to have a smoother birth, avoid pelvic floor damage and tearing, and have the best possible recovery after birth. We educate you about how your body works and how birth works on a physical level and a psychological level. Any mom who has anxiety or fear about labor, this is the course for you. I know for me, it completely eradicated any fear I had about giving birth. We also equip the dads. They don't feel helpless. Hypnobirthing dads are taught how to support mom, what to say and to do, and how they can help. So are you ready to have your best birth possible? Look back at your birth as one of the best days of your life and not an ordeal to forget. Follow Hypnobirthing in South Africa, Preparing Mom on Facebook, and Preparing Mom Hypnobirthing on Instagram, and send us a direct message. And you can send me a WhatsApp right now for more information or if you want to enroll.
Okay, Thank you. Let's try and see if Senzi is ready for us now. Otherwise, we'll need to go on. Senzi, are you with us? Right. Okay. I think we can all right. Senzi is muted. Yes. Hi, Senzi.
Sorry, I do apologize. I think I did say to you that I'm double parking today. And as I'm sure many of you will hear throughout the, the chat, that my phone will be going off. I am attending 2 events, but obviously I just couldn't allow myself not to miss this opportunity. So I do apologize for, I could hear in the background you're busy talking to me, but I was just trying to get someone offline. But at the same time, I was also trying to get a bit of a clearer background, because you said people should switch on their videos, and I'm thinking, is this guy serious right now? Because I don't think my background will allow it, but I will switch it on nonetheless. I do apologize for that bit of a glitch. So if maybe you can just recap a bit, and then I can start whenever you'd like me to.
Okay, Senzi, if you are ready at any time now, you can continue. We can take you now. Yeah, we can definitely take you now.
Right. Sorry, guys, I do not have a clearer background. I just had to sneak somewhere quickly so that I can be able to get my video on and be able to speak to you guys. Mr. Patel, I see you all the time. I think you know how I look like. I'm not there. So
yes,
Malcolm
yes,
as well.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but thank you very much, guys, for having me today. I do appreciate the invite, and I was very honored to to be invited in such a platform, to be able to to share views and have conversation with individuals that share common goals. So I'm not too sure how the introduction was in terms of who I am, what I do, and how I have come to form part of this panel. But if there wasn't any formal introduction, but I would like to maybe just formally introduce myself. My name is Senzi Sibego. I am a councillor for the Democratic Alliance, and I'm also the regional chairperson in Ekurhuleni for the Democratic Alliance, and also the shadow MMC for economic development in the city of Ekurhuleni, obviously under the DA banner. There's many other titles, but I'll just keep it at that, because I think this meeting is about those particular responsibilities and roles. So that is my responsibility, and as a DA regional chairperson, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to be part of Alberton. I would like to come and have a physical a meeting and a visit where we have activities and tables and so on and so on. I think that would be a much better way of which we can get to know one another. However, as a shadow MMC coming here today, I'm coming through because of, obviously, we have the issues in terms of how the country is with regards to its economy, the high unemployment rate that we have, and obviously having platforms like this ones, it allows us the opportunity to be able to address and engage and speak to these things. And I'm very honored to be part of a panel of expertise of people within this kind of conversation are able to unpack some of the challenges that we have, but not only leave it at just the problem and the challenge, but what solutions can we come up with? What is it that we see as a country where in terms of the economy that we have, either the right direction of which we can grow the economy, or in the in the state that the economy is in right now, where, as everyone know, we're in junk status. You know, it's terrible. You know, our country is slowly but surely becoming the next Zimbabwe, and it's heartbreaking to actually see it day by day happening. You know, that we are becoming a country that we always looked from a distance or watched from a distance and thinking we would never become something like that. And it's so unfortunate to see a beautiful country like ours, a beautiful nation that had great potential, you know, and it still has elements of that. You know, we still have those little things. And I think the people that we have on this panel still have that little hope that we can actually move towards that direction. We can still see some bit of hope. So when I was preparing my address, you know, leading to this meeting, I was so upset, and I thought I would speak on things like how our country is, how terrible, and so on and so on. Yesterday, when we got the news that the Concord actually threw out the IEC's application, I was so excited. I was so excited because of this presents a great opportunity for us as the Democratic Alliance to now try and swoop in and be able to implement the things that of which we have been doing in the city of Cape Town or in Midvaal, you know, just not very far from us here. We are able to now see a bit of hope, a bit of, you know, direction in terms of how we can be able to topple, you know, the ANC. So I was excited yesterday, you know, and every one of us, I wish you guys could be part of our WhatsApp groups within the DA structures, and you can see how everyone is excited about the outcome. So then this morning I woke up and thinking, I'm not going to talk on anything else except the potential of what we have and how we have the opportunity to be able to make it right, and how we can be able to see what the other parts of the world and the things that of which they've been doing, you know, and how they've actually moved from governments that were, you know, hopeless, but were able to find themselves with governments that were able to a change or have a 360 turnaround on the economy. So I was excited when we got the news, and I just wanted to share that excitement with you guys today to say, you know, maybe we need to look into more of how we can look into solutions, and especially how we can be able to drive those solutions in our communities. Now, we can speak on a much larger scale, which is the national economy and how the country is and how we can be, or how we are affected as a country. But I would then also think that maybe that conversation is not necessarily, you know, clear enough or focused enough for us in Ekurhuleni, for example. So I think that we need to tone it down a bit and look at the scale in the sense of what we can achieve as the people within this particular region. And the reason for that is, you know, when you look at Ekurhuleni and how at some point it was known as an industrial hub, it was actually one of the, you know, in terms of the economy of the country, the greatest contributors within that economy. When we looked at the economy within Gauteng, with Joburg, we were one of the greatest, you know, contributors in that sense. So we have seen large firms and large companies leave our shores, you know, in the last 2 decades or 3, and that doesn't also say that we don't have the potential. It's just that we don't have the right government to be able to attract the right potential. Now, look at it in this sense. Now, when you are in a city where the largest airport in the continent is based, there is no way you can actually have any excuse of having the high unemployment rate that we have. You have no excuse. You have no excuse in terms of not having investors flocking in, because you are the first point of contact when you come into this country. You are the first place people get introduced in when they come into the country. So meaning that how people get introduced in this beautiful country of ours is through Ekurhuleni. So how is that on its own not a selling point? So you can't tell me it's difficult to attract investors. You can't tell me it's difficult to create jobs. Fact of the matter is we have a failing government, a corrupt government that is unfortunately looking out for themselves and not the interest of the residents of Ekurhuleni. Very simple. So we can, I think I'm speaking to the converted here, and I'm actually preaching to a choir here. So, but I just want to put a disclaimer there in terms of what can be achieved versus what the current government is failing to achieve. Because you and I, when we look at Ekurhuleni, I think basically we're seeing the most simplest area or the most simplest place where you can actually do business. We are we are in the center where in the right of us, we have Joburg, and then on the other side, we have Tshwane. We are right in the middle. We are right in the middle. So us doing any kind of business or trade for this biggest city in Africa, which is Joburg, and then we have the capital city, which is Tshwane. You have Ekurhuleni, who is the entry point of anyone who comes into this country, business or even for personal or for pleasure. So you are confronted with a situation where, if you really look at it, there is just no will that's coming from the current government. And how we are able to achieve the goal of which we can be able to create the model of Ekurhuleni and the potential of Ekurhuleni, we can be able to explore and be able to get to the levels of which people of Ekurhuleni are beneficiaries of the great idea or the potential that it holds. Is one of the reasons why I would like us to have the conversation today. Now, Michael? Did someone say something? Malcolm?
Yeah, if I can just ask everyone who's not on the podium to please stay muted at all times, please. Thank you. Right. You may continue, Senzi.
All right, thank you very much. So, colleagues, I think you can tell through my voice, and that's the reason why I'm hunting on like this, because of the excitement of what we've realized yesterday, that we have an opportunity here. We have an opportunity to be able, as great South Africans who love this country, regardless of race, gender, background, we have an opportunity here. We have an opportunity to be able to show the diversity that we have as a party, but as also as a country, because this grows further than just the political party that we serve in. It is more about South Africans who are more interested in seeing this country flourish. We are all excited. There's only small elements of individuals that are not excited about the greatness of this country. There's little individuals here and there, and I'm saying this intentionally to call them little. It is because of they have big egos who are, but they are small individuals who are creating gak. I apologize, host, for using such language, but they are creating gak for all of us. Individuals who are willing to try, and make this country move forward, regardless of its background or its past or its history. We have come to a point where we understand and love each other, regardless of any differences that we have. We have to look into how do we make this thing work. Now, the opportunities present themselves. It is only about how willing the government will be. And speaking as an MMC, a shadow MMC of economic development, I have seen the ugliness of how much money gets pumped or gets, that is given, on every single year or every single term of what things can be achieved throughout that term. Believe me, 90% of that money becomes wasteful expenditure. It goes on to, corruption, goes on to individuals that of which are not interested in growing the party, but growing their own or feeding their own families and making sure that they have fancy cars and living lavish lifestyles. Whereas when we are looking into an environment where we have a country where we can be able to grow an economy, where each South African can be able to have a balanced lifestyle. 2 weeks ago, I had a debate and a conversation with someone, and I said, most South Africans are not looking, they don't want to be billionaires. They don't want to be millionaires. They just want to have a decent lifestyle. They just want to have a decent life. When you fail to have simple things like basic services like electricity, water. I mean, we know of the water outages that have been taking place throughout our city lately. We have been having power outages that have been affecting business and our own personal life, in the city. And these are the things that unfortunately are supposed to be basic needs, meaning that there's only little effort that is supposed to be put, to create that environment that will be able to allow each and every one of us to be able to enjoy those basic needs. But unfortunately, we still have a government that doesn't understand that there is a much bigger scale, the much bigger goal to achieve in terms of growing this economy. But we are busy fighting about little things like how we can get water, how we can get electricity, which is not supposed to be a conversation that we should be having. Now, until we remove this government, which is failing us, unfortunately, we will not have the pleasure of being able to do so. Now, colleagues, I would like to now maybe speak into what the invitation was about in terms of talking about how we can look into the future and how we can be able to create this great economy that I've been talking about and so forth. Now, I have had conversations with Malcolm, now and again, and especially when we had the youth meeting, in terms of how we have seen many nations, and I'm talking about certain third world countries, I used, I think, an example of Singapore in that particular meeting, and how they have actually grown in a short period to be able to, come from poverty and become a global economy. And they implemented one of the most basic approaches to be able to get these things. And if only you do have a willing government, as we do in the Western Cape. The Western Cape is doing exactly that. It just does what it's supposed to, and it's using the taxpayers' money as it's supposed to. It's as simple as that. There is no trick to all of this. There is nothing outside all these global economies that have made it that has anything that is extraordinary. There's nothing. Everything is just making sure that you use you use your balance sheet correctly. How you balance your cents and your rands and so forth comes into play. But if you take from the monies that of which is supposed to be spent on people, that becomes a problem, that creates a gap. So there's no trick to all of this. So when I had a conversation with Malcolm about some of these countries that have found themselves having great education systems, having great facilities and tourism and low crime rate and unemployment rate that's almost non-existent, and also having beautiful infrastructure. When we spoke on these things, I had made simple examples of how we can find ourselves moving towards that direction. And I will leave most of these to be unpacked by the panel that we have in front of us, the coaches and the individuals that are experts within those fields. But I'm going to speak on more of a general approach of what needs to be done. South Africa is rated amongst one of the best in terms of finance, and many of us who are obviously exposed to what is coined as fintech, for example. Fintech, South Africa is, I think, the third country in the world that actually has that structure in place in terms of fintech, which I think we can all tell it comes from finance and technology. Now, fintech becomes, it has become something that of which South Africa has implemented in many instances in areas such as the Western Cape and Joburg. So meaning that when you're looking into job opportunities and you're looking into industries that grow within this country, fintech or finance is one of them. And when we look into all of this, why is that? It is because of we have allowed ourselves in terms of the global competitiveness to be able to be in the same level and the same standards as everyone else in the first world countries, countries like your America, your Canada, and so on and so on. So we speak of standards that of which allow people to be able to participate in the economy, not only in a closed-minded frame where you introduce policies such as race-based policies, but more of global economies where people are able to come into a country not based on their race or their gender or their background, then they can either exercise or not. But these individuals, this platform allows for anyone from any type of background to be able to do so. Now, this is a simple example of how, as South Africans, we have potential. If maybe Mr. Pretorius can maybe mute, thank you very much. This is how, as a country, and I'm using this as an example, as a country, we can be able to find ourselves where when we look at global competitiveness, we need to look at it in that sense, where when we introduce policy from the political side, we need to introduce policy that is not race-based, that is more policy that is competitiveness that is global. Now, education, for example, does not speak to that, and I'll speak to that a bit, later in this conversation, is that our education does not speak to that. And the reason is you cannot be able to have your education that speaks to what global demand is, yet your education system is not allowing people to get to that platform. And when you are creating policies that are also race-based, for example, they don't allow for people to get to a global competitiveness. One of the silly examples that I make is I don't want someone to come and say, this is the first pilot, first female pilot. Why is it that we have to look at gender? Why do we have to say the first Black pilot? Why does it have to be that? Why isn't it that we compete with countries across the world with having the best pilots? We have to have the best pilots. We have to have the best doctors. We have to have the best. So when we create any kind of, when we participate in any kind of industry, we have to look at how our education and our systems and our policy and so on are allowing us, whether you are a Black South African, an Indian South African, a colored South African, and white South African, to have the same kind of competitive edge that will be able, that when we compete outside or within the global scale, we are able to do so. But when you create these divisions and you create these platforms that do not allow certain individuals to be able to give or to participate, it becomes a situation of how does this become, how do you move forward? Maybe let me use another silly example. And I do get a bit of criticism for this, for using this example, but I use it nonetheless because of, I think we need to be a little controversial for us to be able to get to the solution. I'll use it. Now, the education system that we have in this country, the solution that we had was when the apartheid government had certain schools that had certain systems or that had certain things that were beneficial, and then you had another school which was township systems and so on and so on. Let's not get into all those details. However, I have to make that disclaimer as an example. Now, if you want to create a schooling system or an education system that works in the entire country, and you are fixing the mistakes of the apartheid government, you do not then put Themba and Togo and Lerato into a kumbi and then transport them into Albertine from Togoza. You're not fixing the problem. Because the school that of which Togo, Lerato, and Themba come from are still affected. Now, what you're doing is that you are putting pressure on a school which is in Albertine, for example, which you are supposed to copy that system and administration that is in that particular school, so that you have better schools in that area, you have better education, clinics in that area, you get better facilities within that area. That's how you fix a problem. You don't fix a problem by taking over something and say, then we can run with this one, but you haven't fixed what has been the problem for all these years. It is the system that has been introduced in this culture where every single thing in terms of creating any kind of opportunity for any person, you have to slap color into it for it to be a solution, which unfortunately does not work. You do not then change a schooling body by having color and not necessarily having changed what is being a systematic problems within those areas. You don't slap color, you don't do that. You have to create opportunities that continue to serve all South Africans. So the point why I raised that was, for us to be able to create jobs and for us to create industries to continue, you do not kill the existing industries. You do not create, you do not disadvantage the existing industries for the developing industries for them to benefit. You need to continue with the momentum. You need to continue and allow that kind of what was existing and what worked to continue existing, but have inclusion of other individuals or communities that were not included in those particular, in that particular area. I'm not sure if colleagues, I'm losing colleagues here, but I'm hoping I'm making some sense. So coming back to what I'm talking about in terms of how we can grow the economy. I use the education system in terms of, you cannot just substitute a color. You cannot just transport people from one area to another and then you've solved the education system. The same thing with economy. You cannot change a board of directors, right? You cannot change a board of directors by hoping to think that you're going to find a goal. If you want someone to be good at farming, they need to be involved in farming and work their way up into a certain level for them to be able to run a farm. It's as simple as that. You do not just take a farmer because of they have a certain color and then you expect them to then run a farm that has been run by someone with experience of decades and centuries that has moved from one generation to the next. Now, colleagues, if we're going to find solution in job creation and industry, we need to not look at anywhere else except how we can change and fight the policy that is being forced down our throat, which is a race-based policy. Now, unfortunately, until such time, we will continue to find ourselves in difficult situations because we can have all these great ideas. How do you apply? Which internet search engines you can use and blah, 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 which companies you can go to, which approach you can use, what etiquette you can, you need to have for you to be able to be successful in an interview. All of those are great. But unfortunately, from where I'm standing and from where I come from, and this the point that I'm speaking from the government point of view, is that until we have the right policy in place, we will continue having these platforms and having these conversations, trying to adopt first world ideas into a government system that is failing us. And we need to get to a point, unfortunately, where We have to be uncomfortable with the conversations that we have. We have to be brutal with the conversations that we have. In fact, we have to be very direct with the conversations that we have. People should not be afraid based on their race, gender, that they cannot speak up to the government that we have. We need to speak up as a collective. We all want to see this country succeed. We all want to see opportunities for all of us. We all want to have better lives and opportunities for our children and our children's children. And until such time we have these ugly, and uncomfortable conversations, we will not find ourselves where we are able to make things happen for this particular country. And what I'm saying is not limited to just economy. It's not limited just to job creation. It's not limited to education. I'm talking here sport. I'm talking about many other sectors. I'm talking about many other things within this country, that until we get to a point where we allow ourselves to understand that policy is everything that of which we need to have in place that allows every single one of us to be able to function as South Africans, not for someone to tick a box to say whether you're black or white for either to be considered for any position or anything of that nature. So I'd like to thank you guys, and maybe also explain that I will not form part of the entire conversation. I'm not too sure if we do have questions coming from the panel before I leave. As I said, that I'm double parking, and I do find myself where, unfortunately, I have to have only be exposed to a certain time in my meetings, not being able to also share and have knowledge or be exposed to some of the experts in inputs. And I will try to be here for maybe the next 15 minutes after I finish talking. But if we can be able to maybe engage further, and I will put it to Malcolm as our host today to say, these things of having jobs Imbizos, once again, we are stuck in this thing of thinking that an Imbizo is supposed to be an annual thing. Maybe we need to have 2, maybe 3 Imbizos, because of when we are in this environment, which is a very digital environment, things change quick. You know, there's always information that's coming in, and we need to get to that space when we are able to speak to each other more often, so that we can be able to, understand what is new, what is happening, and so on. We need to speak on industry. We need to talk on the new jobs and skills that are available. We need to speak into other areas and avenues in terms of, ITC, agriculture, mining, manufacturing, tourism, textile, real estate, business, and so on, and finance, like I made an example earlier about fintech. So these are the things that we need to engage more. Today, you asked me just to address the panel in terms of the feel, in terms of the economy and global moving forward. What is it that I feel as an individual moving forward? How is it that I feel we need to engage more? I don't like to have decorations in terms of conversations. I like to have raw conversations where we say the ugly truths, so that when we get into government, we know how and what is it that is expected of us for us to be able to solve these solutions. I'm not one of those guys that have conversations that are boardroom-like. I'd rather have a pub-like conversation. And the reason for that is not because of I want to excuse my manners, but it's because of I'd like the honesty that comes from those conversations, unlike boardroom etiquette, where people like to look at, oh, I can't say this, I can't say that. And I do apologize if the panel would have that expectation of me. But unfortunately, I'd like to have conversations that we would find solutions that are truthful, so that when we were to be in government in this city, you guys, we know from every single person what is the true expectation from you as the city or residents of the city of Ekurhuleni. Malcolm, I would like to thank you very much. If there are any questions, if there are any inputs from what I've just addressed, I would maybe like to address them before I leave the panel.
Okay, thank you very much, Senzi, for that. I think that was great. Before I'm gonna give people a bit of a breather, because I've got a quick word from our mayoral candidate, And I see Mr. Patella is already has his hand up. We are going to take you as Zbigniew just after we hear a few words from our mayoral candidate, which is Refilwe Nzeghe.
Good day. My name is Refilwe Nzeghe. I'm DA's mayoral candidate for Ekurhuleni. And I want to tell you a little bit about the importance of having a good economy. If we have a good public transport system which links people from where they live to economic opportunities, one, they can either be able to get resources for their businesses or they go to work. That is something that will be amazing for this municipality. Secondly, when you have infrastructure and basic services are met, you will get investors which come into the country. And through investors, we'll be able to have job creation. COVID has ravaged our communities, and it's important that people get jobs. And you cannot invite investors into the country if your basic services, which is water, lights, and electricity, and waste removal and the roads are not in top shape. So we need to get those done so that we can attract investors, so that we can make sure that we have employment for our people. Those are the benefits of having a good economy. Once you have that, you restore the dignity of all South Africans across all racial groups, all religious groups, because we want one country that works for everyone.
All right, thank you very much. That's just a quick word from our mayoral candidate. I'm gonna take Zbigniew. We had his hand up. You can put your hand down now, Zbigniew, because I've already noted you. Before you can speak, can I ask if there's any other person that wants to speak before Zbigniew goes? Unless if you want to just comment on the chat. Zbigniew, over to you.
Thank you very much. I want to talk very shortly because we have not time. Generally about the jobs, we can talk months, days, or even years. Okay, but I want to say then, Faizan, if I can introduce myself, I am more on technical side. I've got Master of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering. Even I can be today a PhD doctor or professor. I was working for Chamber of Mines Research Organization, and from 1989, I'm only working for myself. I created many jobs, and many jobs has been lost as well. And therefore, everything in short time, what I will say is that maybe we was talking about the qualification, yes, very important. But most important came to me then is the corruption. Everywhere where I go, and is the problem, then even I went to the minister's department. I have, and I still have at that moment, projects where I can create in this year, okay, maybe not this year, during the 1 year, about 300 jobs. And next year, following year, I can create 3,000 jobs. And they are related specifically to new technology, how to build the houses. New technology which is growing in some other parts of the world, but doesn't grow inside. That will create much more jobs, higher productivity, and develop. I've got Master of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering, so I look mostly from the specific subjects as well, more technical side, but also I am IT expert. I have computers, and I run business from 1994. Sorry, 1984, not 94. And therefore, I can also look at many other aspects. Even if I open today business and I have no water, I have no electricity, like we have example in Allroad here, what you can do? Practically, you look for some other sources, you look for the new solar systems, which is very expensive, and nobody can do it so much. Even if we look, second very important issue is, like, we can say unions or policy or races or that. If, for example, I will have person which I employed, I exactly have petrol station as well, and I give it up. I just give free to the people who was working there. For many other reasons, we can say we can create jobs, but we need to look also at education. Education is very important. I have, for example, staff which I teach it, and after that I said, I need to do some other projects. So one of my ladies, I try to teach and teach and teach, and they cannot do it. So education is also important. I have a discussion with people, and I said, I give you that idea. And from tomorrow, nobody can do that what exactly needs to be done. And so education, and we are talking about new technology. I can bring some other ideas also from overseas, or even my idea on here in South Africa, and we cannot do it because even you can see example. I expected that if we will be here on the Zoom, we will have about 1,000 people, but we have only 15 at that moment. Okay, there are more other people, and they are simple things. Even the policy, like we have the data costs. For how many years we need to fight, then the data cost is one of the most expensive in South Africa. How, for example, then we can produce many other things. We can produce many engineering, we produce steel, we produce chemicals, and we cannot use it. We can develop so many branches, not only one, but so many branches, and we are not doing that. So therefore, education, and okay, I will just finish. Okay, so many points, and I like to talk to more. I like to bring people. I am available anytime, and with Senzi also I like to have contact. And I believe then we can create many jobs. Thank you very much.
I think, Senzi, you wanted to comment there?
Yes, Malcolm. No, not necessarily on what Mr. Patela was saying, but as I said, unfortunately, I need to jump off. So okay. I just needed to just thank you and maybe just have a close off, and then I can go. And I apologize to the panel because I'm very much interested in what they have to say. I was looking forward to the coaches' inputs and you know, what the ideas are in terms of, you know, what they've been you know, putting together. But unfortunately, I am in a situation where I'm double parked, and I know it's bad manners, but unfortunately, I just had to make time. But as I said to you as our host, please, can you know that the elections are in October? I guess we are happy about that one. Yeah. So when we get in government, do you hear what I said? I didn't say if. When we are in government, soon after that, I would like to have an Imbizo that you would host once again, because this is a fantastic platform that you're creating, Malcolm, and I appreciate it. And I like the fact that you don't look just into little things, but you look into what matters to the heart and what speaks to the heart of South Africans. And that's one thing that's, you know, that's always great about you, that you have a big heart that's able to speak to South Africans and create platforms where South Africans are able to speak. And the reason why I used I said the same thing that Refilio said there in terms of investors and service delivery, but I think my approach was more of a pub approach than her very diplomatic boardroom approach, which is, I'm thinking South Africans have to get, to a point where now we are not scared to speak. No one should intimidate us. No one. I don't care what gender or what race you are. We cannot be intimidated by these hooligans. We cannot be intimidated by these thugs. Our country is falling into pieces right in front of us. We need to, guys, we need to be on the right side of history. We need to be on the right side of history. We cannot allow our country to get to a point where, as we know the potential, we know we're not on this panel for nothing. We're here because of we care. And I ask that we please use all resources, all efforts to speak boldly and clearly in any platform. Let me tell you something, and if you are a white South African, if they call you racist for the truth, speak it. As long as you know that there's nothing racist in what you're saying, but it's factual, do not be muzzled into a corner. And myself as a Black South African, if I'm called a sellout, I will not be muzzled. I would not be called into any corner just because of someone wants to make me feel as if speaking the truth is wrong. So I am asking every South African and every single person that's on this platform to stand up, We are business people. We are South Africans who care. We are people who want to see growth. We are people who want to get South Africans employed. When I look at what's happening in the Western Cape, it breaks my heart because it's just around the corner and we can see the potential of what this country can be right in the very same country, just one province. If it's possible there, then it's possible every single place in this country. So we cannot be backing down. Western Cape people are unapologetic, and we need to get to that point where we are unapologetic. We need to be able to stand up for what is right. We need to stand up for what is truth. And until such time we are able to speak on that front and we speak in one voice, because of there's many South Africans, Black, white, colored, Indian, many South Africans who love this country the same way each and every one of us does, regardless of our race and our gender. It is the same South Africans that want to make sure that this country works. It is just that few corrupt, thuggish few that is breaking down this country. And I'm asking you and I'm pleading with each and every one of you as experts to please stand up for this country. And I'd like to thank you for this opportunity. And I would like to, if there could be another opportunity for us to be able to have this engagement, but I would like to have more of opinions and more of the thinking from you as professionals in what you do as to what is it that you think is not working and what needs to be done and how we can be able to correct it. Because of once we also get into government, we need to be accountable. It's not just for fancy jobs and positions. We need to be accountable to South Africans. So that's what I wanted to address, Malcolm, and like to thank you very much. You're my friend, you're my brother, and like to thank you very much for this opportunity once again. And unfortunately, I have to just go off to the next engagement, but thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you to everyone for listening to me.
Right. Thank you very much, Senzi. And okay, guys, I thought we would, I know Senzi was very excited when he came in. So unfortunately for that, we took a bit longer than we were supposed to do, but it's okay. I think we found value in that. Without wasting any time, I'm going to introduce Mari Togawa, business coach, mostly works with a lot of business people. Not only business people, but also works with people like myself, politicians who are in politics in terms of coaching. Doesn't coach like per se life coaching, but more in the field where you are in the things that you do. So Murray's going to speak to us in terms of, I think Senzi gave a holistic view, and of course, as you can appreciate, him being a politician, not wasting any opportunity to speak about politics, but Murray's going to give us the practical things of it. Now, before Murray comes in, because of time, we are not going to take hands. You can post in the chat if there's a comment or anything like that, and if there's something that the panelists need to address, then I will read it, and then it will be addressed like that. I do apologize for that. I would have loved to make it a interaction, but we can't. So Murray, thank you for making your time, and on a Saturday, noho. I always say I miss that mountain of mine, and I think you know very well that I want to be suffering with you with the beautiful views out in Cape Town. Murray.
Thanks, Malcolm. Thank you, Malcolm, and all those that are attending. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Yeah, we're all tucked up here in Cape Town. As you can see, I've got my puffer jacket on. It's a chilly day down here, lots of rain and snow, but the Western Cape is very happy in its DA territory, and also our dams are full, so we're smiling. So what I do is I try and help leaders in South Africa, people who own their own businesses, mainly entrepreneurs, to try and make sense of what's actually happening around them at the moment. And in the past couple of years, as we know, the world has been put on its head and everything has been messed up, and we're trying to make sense of it. So I think there's someone jumping in here. Damn. I think maybe
Sorry,
go on.
Vivo 2015, can you please mute yourself and only allow the person that's speaking to speak? Thank you. Murray, you can continue.
Okay, all right then. So I work very much with leaders one-on-one who own their own businesses and try and make sense of what's happening at the moment. And I know I've only got 15 minutes to share, which is a very short period of time, but I've been looking at the qualities that are helping leaders to make it through. I'm also been looking at the qualities that have helped leaders not to make it through, and how many people have failed in business, how many job opportunities have been lost, and how many businesses have had to actually retrench people because they've had to downsize, they've had to close. Very, very sad. And I work in a lot of industries. I'd say that one that is most impacted, which I'll refer to a bit, is the hospitality industry. I work with a number of hotel groups, and it has been absolutely devastating to watch. What has been incredibly heartening for me is to look at the qualities that leaders do have. And I'm going to talk about 3 qualities that leaders need to have to get through these uncertain times. And I've checked this again and again and again through my client base, and all of them exhibit these qualities. And they're not going to be brand new that you've never heard them before, but maybe in the context of COVID and the context of our economy, it does make some sense. So let's get started. The new word on the block that's been around, we used to talk about being flexible, is the new word called agility, being agile. I know that's also a project management term, but I think it's generally a broader term around what I'm seeing with leaders is the ability to live without long-term vision. People used to be able to predict months, not months, years ahead, and used to have a 10-year and a 5-year and a 3-year and a 1-year vision. Take the 10-year out the picture, take the 5-year out the picture. That's just fantasy right now. And even a 3-year picture is quite fuzzy. So a lot of leaders who used to have a plan, and they used to have their railway track planned up ahead and their goal sheets all put together that I worked with, now can't do that anymore. And I talk about the concept of leaders becoming rubber ducks and not ocean liners. And I noticed that a lot of corporates have always been these big ocean liners that are really struggle to turn and to change direction quickly. If leaders can't be like rubber ducks where you can bob and weave and turn on a whim, you're going to get lost. And I've seen people holding to old business models, holding to old mindsets, and trying to work those old mindsets into the current situation and getting left behind. And when I say this word agility, it sounds quite a nice name, quite a nice word. Agility is full of fear. It's full of concern. You wake up in the middle of the night because what you used to know is not what you know anymore. And therefore, you've got to be able to work in small spaces. This is where leaders as well, I find, what we call the rugged individual, the leader who wants to work on their own and make all the decisions on their own, they're also getting left behind. Leaders need to now understand that they need to be part of unique teams where strengths of other people are brought in, and that agility is now within the collective wisdom of the group. And I think that if you have a mindset of the lone ranger, the person on their own, you're not going to survive for very long. And I have so many of my clients that have actually built their networks during this time and have found collective wisdom, and that agility has really helped. The thing about agility is that you as the leader, if you don't have an agile mindset yourself, in other words, if you're a bit of a stick in the mud, you look in the rearview mirror rather than the front window, through the front window, you're also going to get left behind. And sometimes we have to do our own inner work as leaders to become more agile. And if you're struggling with that in your business, go and get some help, because that which was fixed and that which was all structured is very, very difficult now in these times. The second quality I'd like to talk to is the fact that we need to have grit and determination. Now you say, well, Mary, well, that's what leaders do. No, they don't all do that. I've seen that. I've seen leaders that have got temporary grit and temporary determination. We're in this for the long game, not for the short game. COVID is going to be with us for decades to come. We'll manage it in different ways, but it's going to be with us for a very long time. And depending on the different variants that are coming down our track, we are going to have to manage the economy in the middle of the space. You know, I work a lot in the hotel industry, and as I said, and the one thing that they've had to understand is that their season, let's talk right now, I've been working with hotel groups this week. Their season starts now in September. First half of the season goes through to December, and the second half goes through to March, right? So they've got about 6 months or so to make their money. Right now, South Africa is on the red list with most countries in the world. It's very difficult to come here. These hotels that last year were all going into overdraft and all trying to find ways to cut down and do whatever, have still got these hotels. Many of them they manage hotels, they don't own them, so have to pay the landlord. And many of them are in huge amounts of debt. For many of them right now, it takes grit and courage, because the word on the street of it is that hotels and the leaders of these hotels know that the first half of the season between now and December is quite unlikely to be very strong, because people should have booked already, and they're not. We know that there's a fourth wave with this new variant coming in December, which for a hotelier is the worst news possible. And if we don't get a season for hotels between now and next year in March, then we are not going to have many hotels around. In fact, if you come down to Cape Town, here on our beautiful tourist world, and probably not tourist world, and probably because in Natal you'll pick up a hotel for 100 Rand because people can't run them anymore. Those leaders that I work with have incredible grit. They know that the future is uncertain. They are agile and they know how to bob and weave into that space. But right now, it's the grit, waking up every day, not knowing whether you can pay people their salaries, whether you can help people in terms of being able to, they come to you and they say, I cannot pay for my children to go to school. What do I do? That takes incredible courage and determination as a leader. And depending where you are in your industry and what you're facing right now, you're waking up every day with not always good news. In fact, a lot of bad news. The question is, how do you manage it? If you are externally driven, you have an external locus of control, as we call it. That means you're externally driven. It means that external circumstances will always power you, which means you're going to be at their mercy. If you develop a strong internal driver, an internal locus of control, you can look at the world externally from a position of strength. And grit builds strength, grit builds character. But we need to keep that going every minute of every day. And I'm working with so many clients that I just salute. And I say, I don't know how you're going to do this, but keep on going. And the interesting thing is, people say grit sounds like it's very hard, and I know it is, but I have got so many of my clients that are currently thriving. I'm talking about thriving. They're not just surviving, not just kind of thriving. They're actually making more money than they've made in a very long time because of their agility and because of their ability to have grit. And this is something you've got to do every single day. The third quality is around vision. Now you say to me, Murray, everyone's got vision. No, not everyone's got vision. I'm finding leaders are losing their vision. They are losing their hope. They are losing their sense of, should I be here? People are wanting to leave this country. People are looking out and saying, well, look overseas, look in America, look in England, they're not wearing masks, their economy is getting back on track, airlines are flying again, etc., etc. What's happening down here in South Africa? And if we lose our vision, there's a little proverb that says, without a vision, people perish. And we perish, and the people within us perish, around us perish in our businesses. And we've got to be very careful how we work with the people around us. We have to keep vision alive. So the first question I've got to ask myself is, do I have vision inside of Murray for the future? I'm a South African. I live here in Cape Town. I am here. I've recently just received my British passport, and people say, wow, is this time for you to leave? I say, absolutely not. I got it because my mother was British, not because I want to leave. I'm a South African. I have vision for my country. Living in the Western Cape, you might say, Mary, that's a bit biased. Well, I think we're very grateful that you've got the Western Cape because it's a wonderful place to live. But on top of that, I have a vision for my business. I have a vision for the people that work with me and the people that are my clients. And I have to make that vision come alive every day. And if we have vision, we can climb the highest mountains. We can go in the greatest directions. But I find a lot of leaders are not writing their vision down. And I'm talking about short-term vision now, not long-term, because you can't do long-term vision anymore. But vision keeps hope alive. You know, there's a slippery slope of the 3 words you don't want to hear. The first way you start slipping down is you start feeling helpless. Then the second one, which is worse, is you start feeling hopeless. And the third one down is you start feeling useless. And I meet leaders at each of these 3 points, those who are just feeling helpless, but those who are hopeless, and those who've just gone over the edge and just feel everything is useless. We as leaders are not allowed to let that happen. That's not on our watch. That doesn't happen on my watch. On my watch, I keep vision alive. Because when I speak out vision, I speak out hope. When I speak out hope, people believe. When people believe, people are encouraged and built up. And I've got to dig into myself and find out what is the vision that I have inside of me. And what is that vision I want to put into my business? Now, I have the privilege of coaching people who run their own businesses, big and small, in South Africa and internationally. And it is an incredible privilege for me to be able to sit down and work with these leaders. And I always check if their vision is alive and vibrant and well. And when I find it starting to wilt, I start working with them and saying to them, no, get moving. Now, the other thing to realize is those people that don't have vision, that have lost their vision, they've also lost their market share. If you want to have a sustainable competitive advantage in the marketplace, have a compelling vision, because you'll get more of the small slice of the pie, because other people have thrown in, people in, depending what business you're in, you might find that there are not as many competitors out there because people aren't doing it as much. They've lost their vision, they've gone somewhere else. Well, good for you, because if you've got vision, that means you've got a bigger slice of the pie. Go and get theirs, because their clients still need to be serviced. Now, there's a lovely story of Edmund Hillary before he became Sir Edmund Hillary in summiting Mount Everest in 1953, and the year before he had failed. And the story goes that he was doing a presentation to a number of students at a university, and he had his good old carousel of slides up, and a slide popped up onto this huge screen, and there was the picture of Mount Everest in all its glory. And he was heard saying the following as he looked at the slide. He said, "You, Mount Everest, you have conquered me." He said, you will not conquer me again. And he said, "Why, Mount Everest?" He said, "Because I am growing, you have grown all you can grow. But me, I'm still growing." Even the biggest mountain in front of us, we can outgrow it. We can have vision above it. So I believe that vision is leader-led, but I believe that vision is also participatively designed. So we lead the vision as leaders, but we allow significant others in our world to come in and design the vision with us so that we can create these unique teams. So these are my 3 qualities that I'm working with leaders right now in the battlefield of getting through COVID and beyond, and helping to create jobs and to keep jobs. And that is, are they agile? Can they be rubber ducks or not ocean liners? Do they have grit, the determination to never give up? And thirdly, do they have a vision so that they can outgrow whatever mountain is put in front of them? Malcolm, thanks for the opportunity to share. I don't know if there are a few questions, maybe you haven't got time for it, but I've got a few minutes, so I'll hand that back over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Murray. Always good to hear you speak, and I'm a little bit envious, even though it's a bit cold today. I wish I was suffering with you out in the Cape, but yeah. So we're not gonna do that because I think, like, even with the other speakers as well, I really do appreciate your time. I know you had things going on around you. I really do appreciate you making the time, and thank you very much. And yeah, we're going to go on, but I'm going to give you a bit of a, not necessarily a screen time. You can have a break on the screen time if you want, but we're just going to take a bit of a break from all the conversations, and we are just on what Murray said in terms of the vision. Here's something to keep you a bit motivated.
I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Without consistency, you'll never finish. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams. Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks, and I'm sure you've probably heard that before, but I want to talk to you about why that's so important. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. And I know that's probably not a traditional message for a graduation ceremony, but hey, I'm telling you, embrace it, because it's inevitable. In the acting business, you fail all the time. Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. Perfect role for me, I thought, except for the fact that I can't sing. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. I prayed, and I prayed. But I continued to fail, and fail, and fail. But it didn't matter, because you know what? There's an old saying, you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're gonna get a haircut. So you will catch a break, and I did catch a break. Last year, I did a play called Fences on Broadway. But here's the kicker. It was at the Court Theater. It was at the same theater that I failed that first audition 30 years prior. The point is, every graduate here today has the training and the talent to succeed. But do you have the guts to fail? If you don't fail, you're not even trying. I'll say it again. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. Imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your deathbed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghost of the ideas you never acted on. The ghost of the talents you didn't use. And they're standing around your bed, angry, disappointed, and upset. They say, we came to you because you could have brought us to life, they say. And now we have to go to the grave together. So I ask you today, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? Just got back from South Africa. It's a beautiful country, but there are places there with terrible poverty that need help. And Africa is just the tip of the iceberg. The Middle East needs your help. Japan needs your help. Alabama needs your help. Tennessee needs your help. Louisiana needs your help. Philadelphia needs your help. The world needs a lot, and we need it from you. We really do. We need it from you young people. I mean, I'm not speaking for the rest of us up here, but I know I'm getting a little grayer. We need it from you, the young people, because remember this. You got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. What are you going to do with what you have? I'm not talking about how much you have. Some of you are business majors, some of you are theologians, nurses, sociologists. Some of you have money, some of you have patience, some of you have kindness, some of you have love, some of you have the gift of long suffering. Whatever it is, whatever your gift is, what are you going to do with what you have? All right, now here's my last point about failure. Sometimes it's the best way to figure out where you're going. Your life will never be a straight path. I began at Fordham University as a pre-med student. I took a course called cardiac morphogenesis. I couldn't read it, I couldn't say it, I sure couldn't pass it. So then I decided to go into pre-law, then journalism. And with no academic focus, my grades took off in their own direction. I was a 1.8 GPA. And the university very politely suggested that it might be better to take some time off. I was 20 years old. I was at my lowest point. And then one day, and I remember the exact day, March 27th, 1975, I was helping my mother in her beauty shop. My mother owned a beauty shop up in Mount Vernon. And there was this older woman who was considered one of the elders in the town. And I didn't know her personally, but I was looking in the mirror, and every time I looked at the mirror, I could see her behind me, and she was staring at me. She just kept looking at me. Every time I looked at her, she kept giving me these strange looks. So she finally took the dryer off her head and she said something I'll never forget. She said, "Young boy, I have a prophecy, a spiritual prophecy." She said, "You are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people." And in the years that followed, just as that woman prophesied, I have traveled the world and I have spoken to millions of people through my movies. Millions who up till this day couldn't see me, who up till this day I couldn't see while I was talking to them, and they couldn't see me, they could only see the movie. They couldn't see the real me. But I see you today. And I'm encouraged by what I see. And I'm strengthened by what I see. Because taking risk is not just about going for a job. It's also about knowing what you know and what you don't know. It's about being open to people and to ideas. The chances you take, the people you meet, the people you love, the faith that you have, that's what's going to define you. Never be discouraged. Never hold back. Give everything you got. And when you fall throughout life, remember this: fall forward.
Right, everyone. Thank you very much. Sure, I'm sure I was still very much captivated by that as well. Amazing stuff. So now we're going to the nitty-gritties of, what do you need to succeed? Like some of the things that, the practical stuff. We now moving into that direction. And the first speaker in that direction is none other than Craig Johnson. Somebody who's very passionate about networking. He even networks me every single time, even though I know him. So, but that's somebody who's really very passionate about networking, and he's going to speak to us very quickly. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to quickly ask you, Craig, I'm trying to make things easier. Do you perhaps have your presentation open in front of you? Okay, what I'm gonna do is I've just changed the settings to allow you as well to share your presentation if you can. I'm more than willing to share it on your behalf, but if you feel that you can share it, go ahead. All right, Craig, over to you.
Fantastic mistake that we always do. We always start talking, we want to mute. Thank you, Malcolm, for this opportunity to present my presentation to you about the advantages and importances of networking. And I'd just like to thank everyone on board here, and thank you to the people from my BNI chapter for supporting me today. So first and foremost, we need to understand what advantages we have. And networking is a human interaction. It is something that we do on a daily basis, even if it is not just for business, it's on a personal level, business level, spiritual level, everywhere else, but we are networking every single day of our lives. So I'm just going to quickly run through a presentation, and if I go too fast, please tell me to slow down. Now I go fast sometimes. So the ABC about networking is that you must always be ready to close a deal, always be ready for closing. And by saying that, you must always have yourself an elevator pitch. It's the kind of pitch that you're going to have when you get stuck in an elevator with someone and you only got 30 seconds. How are you going to pitch your business? How are you going to pitch your idea? How are you going to get that idea across? And is it going to come across positively? It all depends on how you actually start your elevator pitch. So first and foremost, the advantage is have a good elevator pitch ready at any given time. This will definitely help you guys get going when you start networking. My second one is always have a positive attitude. No matter what the outcome is, never start speaking about negative things. Always start speaking about positive. Create the dream for someone to start seeing in their mind. Therefore, they're going to start looking at you going, wow, you actually got a lot of knowledge and a lot of passion for what you do. So create your a positive attitude. Know what your value is. Find gain from both parties. How can you work together? How can you gain? How can I gain with networking? And we always know to err is human. We are going to have errors sometimes, but you know what? It all depends on how we actually get over those errors together. Embrace your own personality. Try not to take on Richard Branson's personality, because people are going to go, why are you trying to imitate someone that you're not? Manage your own expectations. In other words, if you can do it, you can sell it. If you can't do it, then don't sell it, because someone's going to come to you and go, okay, let's do the job. You can go, I don't know how to. So always keep communication lines open when networking. How to network was quite easy. The first step in successful networking is knowing where you should go to make connections. Let me just say it again, because I think I said it a bit too fast. The first step in successful networking is knowing where to go to make connections. You got to find the right location, the right place, the right time to find out where you can start making connections. Connections doesn't just mean starting at a business networking event. You could find yourself making connections at a wedding event. You could find yourselves making connection at your child's sports events. Before attending the meeting, make meeting on events. Take time to determine what your goals are. We have a saying with my group is terrific. Sorry, Pacific is terrific. You need to identify what your goals are and what you need to do. If you want to overcome initial awkwardness, try and make a good first impression. Consider opening with a compliment like, hey, nice shoes, or how's the weather? You know, these kind of things always sparks off a different conversation. Sometimes your conversation doesn't have to be about working together. It doesn't have to be about work that you guys can do. Sometimes it's just about building that bridge and that initial connection where you guys can actually grow to start doing networking. Making connections is only half the battle. You should always take steps to keep the relationship going. Don't just make the connection and think that that's it. You finished now, you can continue. And it's going to grow. You need to grow it. It's just networking is like planting the seed. You got to plant it, you got to nourish it, and you got to grow it. If you don't put the work in, it's not going to produce any fruit. Sometimes starting a conversation with strangers is easier if you have a familiar face by your side. This is a very tricky one because it's nice to go with a buddy to a new networking event, but also at the same time, you can just be caught out by having your own little discussion between you and your friend in a corner, and you've actually wasted a whole entire event. So yes, take somebody with you, make a conversation, but stay connected with the crowd. Strive to reach out to your contacts at least a few times a year, just to follow up. You know, you never know that your phone call in 3 months' time, the person might go, you know what, I've been meaning to contact you. I just haven't had the time because I've been very busy. But hey, let's start doing this kind of job together. Sorry. So follow up. Don't just leave it. You know, follow up on your connections at least a few times a year. Even send Christmas cards. You never know. You might just get something back. 3 don'ts. Don't be negative when you start networking. When you're searching for conversation starters, don't put somebody down like, yeah, I heard about them as well. They are quite bad. I wouldn't deal with them either. That's not a very good positive attitude to have. You want to create a positive attitude, not a negative attitude. So don't start talking negative about other people and their companies. Don't be selfish. This is a very, very important one. It is important to remember that networking is about giving and taking. For best results, look for opportunities to help your network grow, to help your network contacts prosper in both careers. So you and your associate must also prosper, not just you. Here's my favorite saying: like, know, and trust. People do business with people that they like, that they know, and that they trust. However, you can't just all of a sudden in 10 seconds get to like somebody, get to know somebody, and get to trust somebody. That is not a relationship. A relationship is to be built. I've been building relationships now with a couple of people for almost 3 years. We're starting to like each other, we're starting to know each other, and we're starting to trust each other because now we're starting to know what our personalities are. It is a common cause that people will do business with people that they know and trust and like. Find your business network. Find your fit. Find what fits you. Not every business network has got the same approach for everybody else. So let's find out what kind of networks are there. There's a lot of networking that you can do. There's NGOs that you can meet up with. There's public services that you can get going with. There's places online like Meetup. Meetup is a fantastic website where you can go and meet up with different people, like-minded people. There's a Friday club. There's even a Rotary club. You even get Lions SA. They're still actually going at the moment. You can even get like a ladies' tea club going. But the one that actually stands out for me, and the one that I belong to, is a business networking international called BNI. The reason why I like this so much is because it's got a structure. It's business, it's networking, and it's international. I've been doing work now with people on different continents, in different countries, in different time zones, all because of my networking ability to use their structure and to go forward. We hold each other accountable by passing on referrals and even thank you for close of business. Find yourself your right fit. Find yourself what fits you. Maybe an NGO might be a nice idea. Maybe you just want to give your time. You don't really want to give out any services, but find your structure and find your niche. And I think that's me. So next time that you guys want to start networking, give me a shout. I can definitely get you guys hooked up and we can start going and start networking. My contact details is craig@simpleIT.co.za and my number is on the screen here, 010-880-4444. And thank you very much, Malcolm. And I hope I picked up some speed and saved you some time. Thank you guys for coming and thank you for your support.
Thank you very much, Craig. That was nice, sweet and short. Much appreciated. That was brilliant. We're going to move on to the next speaker and just make sure that he's here. Yeah, we've got Jared Ivan. First of all, we can check with Jared. Jared, do you have your presentation in front of you?
Unfortunately not, eh?
Okay, I don't mind helping you out with that. I've got it on my laptop. So let me just quickly go there.
Cool, thanks. Yeah. One thing is that it's quite easy to remember. So it's just 3 main words and then we just extrapolate from there.
Okay, wait. I'll have to change what I'm doing because I thought it's really nifty. It's not working for me. Right, let me just do this. I'll be with you guys just now.
No stress. If you want, I can start presenting or start discussing about me and what
you
I
can
do.
start introducing yourself and talking about what you do. That's fine.
Okay, so I am Jared Irvin. I'm presenting to you from Pretoria inside a restaurant. So I'm on the move, but these things happen and we are living in a dynamic state, as we know. So I'm coming at you from Actualize You, where you are the critical success factor in work, life, and leisure. So especially we're going to be focusing on the work aspect here, but I think it will go into the other aspects of your life. So it's all good. So the first thing I want to chat about is passion. So when you are an entrepreneur or if you work at a company, the most important thing is that you have passion. From there, we look at purpose, creativity, and perseverance. Okay, so purpose is really important. And I know Murray was talking about vision. So if you don't have vision, you have no reason why you do stuff or no reason why you want to excel or succeed in the work that you do. So as an entrepreneur, it's always difficult to, it's always difficult to, figure out what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it. I started Actualize Wellness Solutions. So that is the company name that we operate under, but the trading name that we use is Actualize You because it's a little bit easier to go for. And as you go, you sort of, as you go along, you sort of figure out what direction you want to go into. So we started Actualize with the intention of doing employee wellness programs, and we never actually managed to do that because we focused more on personalized wellness solutions and actually working as motivation specialists because that's typically what people need. So I liked what Murray had to say about agility. Agility is understanding when you have to change and how to do that, and being able to be a small vessel in the ocean rather than a big one to be able to do that. And I know that Netflix, for example, they identified the market gap. So what they actually started off doing was to distribute videos to people. So people would order online, and then they would distribute DVDs and movies to people. And then there would be like drop-off or collection points for people. So it was basically a virtual Blockbuster store. And yeah, obviously from there, then they realized, okay, we can actually start making movies and create. And they have a very agile model in the sense that people work vertically in the organization and horizontally. And yeah, so that's where creativity comes in. So they were trying to solve a problem, and they realized at some stage that the Blockbuster typical movie rental industry was going to actually, you know, become eradicated in the future, because people want convenience, people want to make their own decisions. And that's where being able to think quickly and be creative is important. And if you are passionate, you're able to be quick on your feet. So what I found is it's more important for people to actually get a product or a service out there, and then you can identify the key processes. So we'll talk about processes just now, but it's more important to get it out there, and then you can streamline the processes, you can become more innovative and communicate these things more effectively. Now, I've made many mistakes in the past 5 years with my business, and as you can imagine, it's everything from cash flow to customer retention to, you know, how do we create value? And especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, how do you continue to create value in a virtual space? And since we primarily did sports coaching, it was really hard because we didn't have a swimming pool, and you can't teach little kids how to swim online. You know, so that's a difficult problem to solve, and we just had to outsource, unfortunately. But it opened up a whole bunch of other opportunities for us. So, yeah, if you are passionate, then you will have more motivation at the start of your journey. So you're going to be excited, you're going to get going, but then along the way, somewhere you become overwhelmed and your motivation dips. So the reason for keeping an eye on what your passion is and what your reason for doing the things you do is, it's going to help you get out those proposals. It's going to help you complete the job to the fullest, not just completing it, you know, based on what people expect, but actually going above and beyond. And that's really important as an entrepreneur, because people can see that passion and they'll promote you. So network marketing, like Craig was talking about, what is really important, especially if you're doing B2B type businesses. And B2C businesses need to work on the network, but also make sure you can maintain those relationships. And as soon as it starts getting too broad, there are thousands of tech systems for you to maintain those what we call consumer relationship marketing programs. And you want to be able to manage that effectively, even if you have to hire someone and pay them, you know, even for a half day or a quarter day, they will really appreciate that. And in the same space, you're opening up job opportunities, and you can continue doing what you do, because like Actualize you are the critical success factor. So if you started the thing and you know how to do it best, teaching people how to do it is really hard. And you don't want to just throw them in the deep end, because obviously I've made that mistake as well. And it's been sort of poor repercussions since then. Obviously, I've changed a few systems. So I'm going to talk about policy creation and management just now. Malcolm, if you can go to the process slide. So the next one, yeah. Perfect. Okay, so quick quote. You should always work harder on yourself than on your job. And this is by one of my favorite motivational speakers, Jim Rohn, and he worked in international business. Unfortunately, I'm not there yet, so hopefully in the near future we'll be there. But we do have clients abroad, so that's good, and that was a valuable thing that came out of COVID. And working on yourself can come in various formats, and you can be a sports person, you can be an artist, you can be whatever the thing is that you really want to pursue, but maybe you feel like you don't have the time for it, or maybe you feel like you don't have the resources for it. So that can be finances, that can be all of those things. And now my thing is triathlon. So I have a big vision for next year, and I won't share it with you guys, so you guys can follow me and check out the process if you want. But what I've learned from pursuing this goal, it's not about being the best triathlete. What I've learned is time efficiency, so managing my training schedule in and amidst work and life and family and all of that type of thing, and also energy management. So this is so important, because if you can manage your energy level, typically what will happen is you wake up in the morning, you have all this energy, and then when you get to the end of the day, typically your energy levels are going to decline. But if you had to fuel your body effectively and maintain high energy levels throughout the whole day through your daily activities, your daily interactions that you have with people, then you are going to be able to perform way better than what you ever thought you could. Okay, so we'll talk about performance later. So process. It's really important that you have a process, and it needs to work in a cycle, because typically what will happen is you work through a process, you get to the end, and then nothing happens from there. So maybe you've got a sales process where customer walks into the store, then they are interested in something, you have a sales consultant chat with them, and then they say, okay, I'm not going to buy it today, but I'll come back a week later. And after that, you never see that person again, and there's no consumer retention, and they don't really feel like they matter in your bigger scheme of things. So you need to decide what you're offering. So let's say you're offering a couch, and you have a couch for sale and someone's interested. Then you need to plan, organize, lead, and control, and evaluate how you engage with that person and how you retain them. Because they might go to your shop, then the next, and the next, and the next. But if you say to them, hey, can I maybe get your email address, then we can put you on our mailing list. Even if you don't have a mailing list, you can develop that. That's not super important. But the main thing is that you get a way of contacting them again, and make sure you remind them of what the offering was. So you can make notes and you remember these things, even so they think that you remember, and you actually just made a note to remind yourself. So that's usually quite a good way to build trust with people, because if you remember about them or who they are and what all they are wanting to achieve or purchase or things like that, then you can build that relationship. And if in the future either they will purchase or they'll tell a friend about you and they'll purchase whatever you're offering. So POLE is to plan, organize, lead, and evaluate. So you need to look at all the processes that happen in your business. Even if you're a manager, or even if you're a sales rep, there's always a process to work through these things. And so sales, you've got two elements. You've got your consumer and you've got your team, or your sales reps or sales team. And it's important that those people are happy, both sides of the table. So do you know your customers and do you know your team? How well do you know those people? Do you do you know what your retention period is? So if you have an ongoing service that you offer to clients, is your service retention like 6 months or 1 month or 12 months or more than that? And we actually put together an Excel spreadsheet over COVID, because we never actually monitored that, and we never realized how important that is. ended up finding out that it's about 11 to 12 months, and then either we've got people ticking over, or we've got people leaving, around 6 months. And conducting training programs or providing training programs is tough, because people feel like life gets in the way. And I think that's also part of the personal development and growth thing that I was talking about, is that you learn how to manage your time and your energy. And when we come to this point, you can't blame anyone. You can't blame anyone else for not being efficient. You can only blame yourself. If you haven't educated yourself on a process, or on how to manage a team, or on how to evaluate what you're doing, then it's not your team's fault, it's your fault. And that comes into the leadership position. Okay, so when it comes to execution and delivery of your offering, it's really important that you take a look at how you do it, and you measure the feedback that you get from clients. So getting reviews, getting evaluations from customers, from teams, to see where you're going wrong. Now, the challenge comes in here that people don't want their name on a public platform. So typically someone will send you a WhatsApp and they'll say, hey, I had a really good experience with you guys. Thanks so much for the products. I'm enjoying them. And that's usually it. So there's very little follow-up, and there's usually they're not going to post it on Facebook or Instagram. And I find that interesting, because typically every organization is trying to get that interest. But if you've got someone that's engaged in your services for 12 months, you don't really need a review, but it would be important to sort of do an annual publish, or annual media publishment, where you can say, hey, we've retained customers on average 12 months. This is how much they average or spend on average, and especially for your sales team, so that they know when they talk to someone about the product and the service offering, then they can actually work them in the right way towards the right product for them, because they can take in that customer profile and then work through that with them. So there's a lot of elements here, but essentially we're looking at how good is your offering, how good is your sales. Do you know your team? Can you manage them effectively? Do they execute and deliver effectively? And then is there a review process? And then does that change how you provide your offering or your sales process? Cool. And then last thing is going into performance. So you are your personal brand, and your business is a brand, right? So if you don't have a logo or anything like that, it doesn't matter too much. It is nice for a website, and it's nice for emails and all of those types of things, but it's not going to make your business perform. What makes your business perform is the trust and the relationship building that you have. And then, so what I was talking about, the process, so the evaluation and review part of the process is really important to get that top end of your pyramid, which is the preparatory refinement. Basically, this is your ability to plan better. And what I found with the coaching aspect, what helps with this is that the more I learn from my clients, the more I see what they want to achieve, and the more they chat to me about the issues that they have and the things that they find valuable, then I'm able to ask better questions in the beginning, so that I can get more information from them more valuable information from them in the future. Okay, so this is the P part of that POL acronym. So the plan part. So if you can get better at planning, better at organizing, better at leading, and better at evaluating, you can shoot for those big goals, and you can shoot for those big results. So as that motivational video said earlier, you can fail big, and you'll still be above par. So if we can just go into a quick analogy, humans and trees have many similarities. The problem is that trees can continue to grow upward and maybe a little bit broader, whereas typically humans, once we reach a certain height. In most cases, as we age, we tend to grow a little bit broader, but we don't often work our minds. And going back to what Jim Rohn says, he always looks at it as, if you work at a job for 10 years, you might say, okay, I have 10 years of experience, but that's maybe not the truth, because you haven't progressed through the ranks. Maybe you learned in your first year or two, and then you've sort of just reached a plateau and not really done anything with your life. Or maybe you feel like that. Maybe it's not the case, but that's what we call is faking yourself out. Faking yourself out to believe that you've made progress when you actually haven't, and that you are again in debt and again not meeting up to the standards that your family set for you, not meeting up to the standards that you set for yourself. And this should influence your performance and your motivation positively. Okay, so you need to be mature in receiving feedback and criticism, because that will help you to change the way that you do things and adapt and become agile. Okay, so some closing thoughts is, what if COVID-19 hits again, or worse? Are you agile enough? Will your business survive? Are you performing well enough to save some cash for the future? Because a savings plan is really important, especially in small business. That has saved us for about 3 months this year, because last year we put aside some savings, and that has helped us to do additional marketing opportunities and that type of thing. So don't get stuck or fall victim to circumstances. And just going on to the last slide. So don't think that a small business doesn't mean small difference. So everybody that works in a small to medium-sized enterprise, you can make a difference, and you are making an impact. So just keep those chins up. I'd like to encourage you or invite you all to join or add your business onto our small business directory on the website. So it's www.actualize.co.za. And we do a monthly small biz mashup. Basically, this is a boxing ring for small businesses where we put out a case study, and then you guys get to share, or we'll have two businesses sort of compete and share their ideas and opinions on how best to handle that situation. And we found it very helpful. You can also contact me for a free 20-minute consultation, either in business, fitness, or wellness. And I look forward to sharing this journey with you on future Imbizos.
Thank you very much, Jared. Great to have you here. And okay, before we get to the last speaker, of the day, one of the important things that people forget is that, I know we spoke a lot to business people needs and people who want to start businesses, which is great. But there's people who simply want to know, how do they adjust their lives when they get that job? Right now, we're going to have a quick, just a disclaimer very, very quickly. This was done by FNB, so excuse the fact that it's FNB branded, so enjoy.
So when you get that email from recruitment that says, don't wear heels or don't come formal, just be casual, really be casual.
Well, they tell you to wear comfortable clothes, and they really are serious.
It's a really fun day. For as much as you think that it's the first day on the job, not really.
So put on your jeans, put on your sneakers, because you're going to be jumping around, having the time of your life, making friends that are probably going to last forever.
Yeah, but also just to enjoy the day, not to think about it too seriously as a formal day.
The full 2 weeks for me was amazing of induction.
All the trainings, especially the soft skills type trainings, and then overall just the whole experience, because it's a bunch of really talented, intelligent people.
For me as a grad, coming in and to have the CEO know my name or recognize my face or be able to really want my input as a grad, that to me was everything.
It is very important, so you know what to expect. You're ready for anything.
I'd love for you to not feel so lost when you walk into these big buildings.
Connect with them, talk to them, you know, at least when you get to induction, you know, there's someone you know there and you can meet new people together.
And that's where you start building your foundation and your network.
If I had to describe it in one word, you're accountable for what you do. You're responsible for what you do.
Words like cool and friendly and relaxed.
Exponential helpfulness.
Your manager trusts you to do the job. Your manager trusts you to deliver what you have to do.
And it's just what I've learned is that if you ask for help, you're going to get it.
I think the biggest thing of F&B is like the friendliness and the openness. And when they say it's a flat structure, it really is a flat structure. Try to still live for the first few months as if you're still a student.
You think now that you're earning an actual salary, you've got enough money.
And then you realize, oh, but I have to pay rent now, and my car insurance, and my car, and my petrol, and my food, and everything.
And all these expenses start to rake up.
Write down everything you need before you can start spending on the things you want.
Definitely a good idea to wait a little just to figure out and see, all right, what are the things that you need to actually have paid off first.
So have a plan for your salary every month.
Well, I mean, they always tell you to dress for the position you'd like.
So you come into corporate and you need to be formal, but it's not suits and ties every day.
As long as you look presentable, you don't have to go spend too much. Be smart about how you shop
and how you piece them together to fit with how your department really functions. Completely up to you.
Don't be scared to repeat stuff. If you wore it this week, you can wear it next week. It's fine.
The hard train is your best friend.
I work in Sandton. Traffic here is unpredictable.
I wish I'd driven through the routes during peak traffic so I'd know what I was getting myself into.
Because there's definitely peak traffic times, and if you think you're going to leave after 6 and it'll be fine, it's not going to be fine.
Whatever you do, leave early.
Traffic, really, it's a city, so of course it's going to be traffic.
So for me, I think the biggest thing was looking for something that was close to work.
In my opinion, I would love to live in the city while working in the city.
I think for me, one of the most important things was the location.
I think the biggest thing is what type of lifestyle you like.
So a place that's not too tiny and a place that's not too large, because you're not going to afford that as a grad.
Big thing is making sure that you don't just sign onto a lease before you've seen a place.
You want to find a place that's central to everything so that you don't struggle getting your way around.
So yes, definitely being able to thoroughly research before you even get here.
You're so excited to go into this and you think you're going to like change the bank and, you know, like change the world.
You're on this high and everything is amazing and you're learning so much, but then you reach this point where you just feel like you know nothing at all.
You know, wherever you go, it's not going to be 100% perfect. It's a new environment. There are so many things to expect, so much learning to do.
But that's good because it gives you that time to just show resilience and to find yourself.
Because I think you have to have the dip to see what is wrong, what can you change, what needs to change.
It happens to everyone, so just stick it out and it gets better.
Don't be scared to let yourself be known.
Just be resilient.
So I think just to appreciate everything.
So while you're in it, just make the most of it and make as many friends as you can, because that's going to be your network going forward.
And also explore and question yourself and figure out where you fit.
It's all in the attitude. If your attitude is right, you'll be fine. If your attitude is wrong, you will struggle. Just don't be scared to try something new.
All right, this is fantastic stuff. I'm so glad that we could also cater for people going into the job market for the first time. So now for the last speaker, and definitely not the least, I'm very much looking forward to this. Michael, I'm not going to try and pronounce your surname.
It's Balaki.
Balaki. Oh, I would have gotten it right. Okay, I would have gotten it right.
Very few do, eh?
Yeah. So Michael, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here, and I know you've got your presentation ready.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you've got it ready. Okay. Okay. Right, you can go for it.
Without the annotation, eh? Just make sure I got it right, yeah. So greetings and thank you to everyone on the panel and on Facebook for taking the time to join us today. My name is Michael. I'm a Liberty Life financial advisor. And I just thought that I would present to you what a financial advisor actually does, introduce Liberty and explain the services and the importance of these services. So we've had a whole lot of speakers explaining what they do and how they can help businesses and how they can help individuals build. But we need something, you need to basically ensure that this remains in place. So you need to ensure your future. And because it's an entrepreneurial and jobs Imbizo, I thought that I'll also just give the opportunity that Liberty have and Ekurhuleni have to others to becoming a financial advisor. I'm not a speaker by no means. I don't professionally present, which you can tell I'm quite nervous. So just bear with me, please. Okay, so most of you know about Liberty and what we do. The same spirit of humanity and passion that the business started with in 1958 by Donald Gordon, has stuck with the company through the years. Liberty are constantly pioneering new solutions that can help others with their financial freedom and change realities. Let's face it, without a plan, we would all be slaving away for no reason. And this is what we don't want in life. Liberty is not just a name, it's what we do. It's captured in the name of the name and the flame, which is taken from the Statue of Liberty with the same meaning of freedom and opportunity. Okay, so financial advisor. What does a financial advisor do? Financial advisors, they have the expertise and knowledge and the training to deal with insurance, wills, trusts, estate planning, retirement planning, investment planning, and even monthly budget planning. Financial advisors are also known as wealth planners or legacy planners, and there's a reason for that I'll tell you later. We work with individuals and companies to assess the risk, financial needs, and achieve their goals. Once a financial needs analysis, or what we call an FNA, is formulated, the advisor presents a client with the option of planning to achieve their required needs. So we come up with the solutions that people need, and we give them a few options, and based on what they choose, then they can move forward in their future. The progress of the implemented plans and any additional needs that arise are reviewed every year, if not sooner. So if a client feels that he wants to change something, he can do it sooner than a year, but otherwise a financial advisor is obligated to revisit every year. We serve as a resource to help with advice, investments, and insurance decisions. And we also help when emotions run high. So if somebody passes away, for instance, people lose sight of what processes to take. Then they would very often call the financial advisor and say, listen, my wife or husband's passed away. what do I do now? And then the financial advisor will help them along with those steps. So we know when the emotions run high, we're there as a helping hand as well. So in obtaining and retaining a client's financial security, there are two subcategories I'm going to focus on today. It's wealth creation and protecting wealth. So wealth creation, how do we create wealth? Everyone plans and hopes for financial independence, but it's often made very difficult by pressures on a daily basis, let alone the COVID falling in and all of that. There are things that arise that could mess up your wealth. If you've got a whole lot of savings, before you know it, those funds could be dried up. And I'll explain that with a scenario just now. Wealth creation starts by planning for retirement, setting goals and saving for future expenses. Now, it might seem like it's not so easy to save, but it's actually something that is very important. And even if it's 50 Rand a month, a good saving can go far. So you want to save for things like a wedding or educational costs, deposit on a house or car, even a holiday. A good investment is always the way to go. We increase our wealth by taking out long-term investments and then reviewing annually to ensure that the money doesn't lose its value in the future. You can put all your money in a savings account, but at the standard interest rate, that money wouldn't keep up with inflation. So a multi-manager or tax-free investment helps to keep up with, not only keep up with inflation, but to beat inflation. That's what they are there for. That's what a multi-manager is there for. So your investment manager, his job would fail if he did not exceed inflation and still make you a profit. Something that I like to work on with my clients is leaving a legacy. That's why I pulled in legacy planner. So in simple terms, a legacy is what is passed on from one generation to the next. So it's usually by what you leave in a will, draft wills as well. As a financial advisor, we have access to quick will. So we'll sit with you and plan the will, and then also plan around that will. So legacy is probably the single most important and selfless act a person can ever bestow to the children or loved ones. If you don't leave a legacy, well, you don't want to leave your children with nothing to go once you pass on, especially if you die too soon. That's a big problem. Your personal legacy or portfolio for while you're alive is also just as important. For example, if you plan retirement properly, not to become a burden to children when you can no longer work. We find nowadays a lot of people don't plan for retirement. They don't feel that they've got the money for it. And they end up having to rely on their children to look after them after when they can no longer work. And what happens is the children accept the burden. You want to look after your parents, but that extra cost then stops you from being able to provide for your own retirement. And then it becomes a vicious cycle. So you end up doing the same thing to your children and so on and so forth. And that messes up a family's legacy for generations to come. So like we heard in the motivational video earlier, what are you going to do with what you have? So while you're working, while you're building up finances and at work, what are you going to do with that money? That's very important. The next is protecting that wealth. So the same thing goes with protecting your wealth. You don't want death to financially cripple your loved ones or to have hard-earned salaries get blown on medical expenses. Creating and protecting wealth addresses 5 problems in life. Life cover is to help secure your family's future if you die. Disability protection and disease protection is to assure of an income should you become disabled or unable to work. Debt settlement, a plan designed to enable individuals the opportunity to settle their debt earlier than what they wanted without too much financial strain. Healthcare benefits to provide for medical aid shortfalls with an investment element. Then finally, planning for retirement is probably the most important problems in South Africa. So imagine this scenario. You get a typical household in South Africa where both spouses work. and their combined salaries go to paying off their bond and their rent, and then the vehicles and the usual expenses like groceries and school fees. Nothing glamorous. They're a standard family. Then the husband has a car accident and becomes hospitalized. The doctor's fees and hospital bills rack up and the medical aid runs out. The bill comes to 280,000 Rand, and the husband takes 4 months to get back on his feet. Then another 2 months at home before he can return to work. That's 6 months that the debt has racked up, that he's been unable to provide for his family. And then the wife has had to carry the debt for those 6 months by herself because there's no cover for that. Then what happens? It could get worse. What happens if the husband actually passed away in the hospital after the procedures? Then his grieving widow would have to settle the hospital fees as well as pay the same ongoing monthly fees, all with just her one salary. It could get even worse. What if he was paralyzed or became brain dead? Then he'd still need to be bathed and dressed and looked after and cared for by his spouse, only to find that she's only got the one salary, she's got less time, and she's had to look after him because nothing was prepared for. Scenarios like this actually happen on a daily basis, and it's far more frequent than anyone realizes. We pay for insurance on our vehicles, our houses, and the contents, so why not ourselves? So many people have the wrong concept about taking out risk policies because you can never see an outcome unless something actually happens. It's very important, and a lot of us don't understand the consequences until it's too late. Pricing, people say, oh, I can't afford it right now, maybe try me again in 2 months. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Basic life insurance actually costs so much less than a car insurance. It costs less per month than to go out to a restaurant for one night. So if anything actually happens, can you afford not to have yourself covered? That's the thing. Then moving on to the career opportunity that EQFIN and Liberty have offered. So to become a financial advisor, they're offering this as a career opportunity to anybody that's willing. There's an opportunity to build lasting and meaningful relationships with clients and companies. Aside from giving life-changing advice and value to clientele, financial advisor makes a difference to the lives of their families and future generations. But then also the awareness aspect of it. Like I said, so many people don't understand the consequences of not having the right a financial advisor at their side to help in times of COVID. We've been there for so many years now. We are the people to turn to if you need assistance financially and advice. So the career opportunity, there's training and development being offered. So to become a financial advisor, the cost from inception to NQF 8 costs around 800,000 Rand per candidate. Successful candidates, however, in this offer will pay nothing. Liberty are going to pay everything, so each person works out to 800,000 Rand per candidate that Liberty approve and agree to take on. The opportunity is open to anyone who meets the minimum requirements and is successful in the interview process with management. It's suitable for individuals with strong leadership skills, a willingness to learn and to build your knowledge base, and most importantly, want to make a difference in people's lives. Well, this is the offer being proposed. Like I said, there's no experience necessary, 7 different income streams, basically, professional and efficient office support. So you won't even have to leave home. You don't have to. You can work from home, you can go see your clients and pop into the office once or twice a week. And you have your whole office base behind you to help with the underwriting process that you might need. You don't need any capital. You just need to. You can work from home. It's a good opportunity for anybody to own and manage their own business. Okay, minimum criteria. Unfortunately, you have to fall within the minimum legal requirements. which is matric, must be a South African citizen, must have your own vehicle, driver's license, current laptop, smartphone, and a clear criminal record, and be business or entrepreneurial minded. Anyone expressing interest will be contacted by a recruiter who will answer any questions and give more detailed information explaining the process and the way forward. So if you're interested, you can WhatsApp your details to me or send me your details. It's a good journey to become a financial advisor. It's been an eye-opener for me. I actually come from signage, and when COVID hit, I'm glad that I became a financial advisor rather than staying in the industry. So the financial industry is actually not doing too badly. It's doing much better than other industries. It's a brilliant opportunity, and I don't think anybody will regret it. So if you send me your details on my cell number or my email, I'll forward it to the recruitment manager, and then somebody will be in touch with you. But if I can also be of service to anyone watching with financial advice, insurance, wills, retirement planning, investment planning, please don't hesitate to call or email or even just send me a message and I can phone you back. Yeah, I hope my presentation wasn't too tedious, and thank you to Malcolm for affording me the time to speak. That's it.
Thank you very much, Michael. It's great. I actually enjoyed it as well. I hope everybody also enjoyed the presentation. So now this brings us right to the very end of today's event. I think it was a great event. I would like to believe that we found value in this event from every speaker, whatever the subject was. I would like to believe we found value in what they had to share. So going forward, and I think we can look forward to possibly more of these events and going forward, and keeping in touch with the business people and business-minded people in the area. So thank you very much for every speaker. Thank you for Zbigniew, who was also here with us. Thank you. I see Michael, you unmuted for a while. Do you want to say something?
I just want to say thank you for having us.
Sure. Thanks. All right, that's the end of today. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.